Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of the Jim Pal podcast. My name is Jim. I will be your pal for today. Wow, I've been looking forward to this for a long time. This has been in the works for a lot of years. I've been looking to do something like this, and I wish I could say it was something other than procrastination that prevented me from doing this, but that's what it was. So for the first episode today, I thought it would be a good idea to just kind of introduce myself and let people know what I'm about. You don't know me, but I'd like to. I've designed this podcast to be about mostly geeky things: Star Wars, Star Trek, Marvel, DC, yuck, Nintendo on occasion, and you'll find out why that fits into the ones later. We'll do a little Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, Rings of Power. You get the idea. It's going to be things that I'm into. Hopefully you're into them as well. And that's the direction I'll go in for now. However, as Ferris Bueller once said to us, life comes at you pretty fast. Things could always change 6 months or a year from now. I've always been a believer in letting things evolve over time, so who knows where this podcast may end up. 5 years from now, I may look back on this and wonder, what the heck was I thinking? Why did I start with that? But here we are. All right. But, first I had several ideas of where I want to go with this podcast. My first instinct was to make it more of a finance, getting out of debt, personal finance type of podcast. But then I quickly realized that kind of gets repetitive. Once you go over the basics, I mean, what else is there to do other than just repeat your message over and over again? Current events, certainly you could do something like that. But again, I felt like that would repeat itself over and over. And there's a lot of podcasts out there for that. That's well saturated, that market, like most markets are. But that one, if you are looking for a finance podcast, the Dave Ramsey Show is one that I listened to for years. They've helped me and my family out tremendously in trying to figure out personal finances. So if you are here for that, go there. All right, so who am I and why? What the heck is the name with the deal with Jim Pal? I chose the show because, well, James is my first name, Jim is short, and Pal, well, that's just something friendly, and nothing really showed up when I Googled Jim Pal podcast. It kind of came to me one day. It kind of rolls off the tongue. I'm on Twitch a lot, as we'll get to in a little bit, and I hear other streamers say my name, and it just kind of, it rolls. It kind of rolls off the tongue very nicely. So I kind of stuck with that. And it just feels very organic. All right. So what was my plan with this podcast? The idea was to do the podcast first and kind of stream on Twitch as kind of like an aside, 1 or 2 days a week, that kind of thing. And what ended up happening is I ended up streaming first and really liking it and having a lot of fun with it. Even though I wasn't really growing that much, I still really liked it. And I ended up just kind of going with that and getting kind of distracted. And again, using it as another method of procrastination. So, but yeah, that's why I stream. It's for fun. But, I was having too much fun. I exhausted myself, and I quickly realized I was never going to do the podcast thing. So I cut back my schedule. I worked on a few things, and then I built myself back up to my 4-day week that I'm doing right now. So today's podcast is mostly going to be about my streaming journey for the my first 6 months of actually being on twitch.tv. It's actually almost 6 months to the day. My first stream was on July 11th of 2022, and today, as I record this, it is January 10th of 2023. I expect this to go out on the 15th, so there'll be a couple of days lag. So, but feel free to stop in the chat and wish me a happy anniversary. All right, but yeah, I just want to kind of get started. Again, I found twitch.tv like a lot of people in the spring of 2020 because of the virus. We all had nothing to do when nobody was going out. We weren't going out to dinner. We weren't going out to bars. We were doing nothing. So, and you quickly got caught up on every TV show you could possibly want to watch. I'm into a lot of geeky shows, as I've said. So it was really we even with that, we still ran out pretty quickly with things to watch. So, you know, I started watching Twitch. And I was like, well, we like video games. What the heck? Why not? So we watched, I found Dave DGR and Barbara's King, and they did a lot of Mario Maker. And I was like, oh, wow, this is really cool. And they were very good at it, obviously. It looked very, they were both looked like they were having fun in their different ways. Obviously, one's a bit more family friendly than the other, but hey, you know, to each their own. Okay, so at the time, Barb and DGR were both doing a lot of Mario Maker too, like I said, and you know, again, it was something, it was an idea I played around with. I'm like, oh, wouldn't that be so cool? You know, if you play video games for a living, and you know, I'd had this idea in my head to do this podcast thing, so I started to think like, oh, what if I can kind of combine the two? But again, you know, life happens, and you know, we bought a house in the meantime, and the virus kind of, you know, just kind of kept spiraling out of control. And then, you know, you work on the house, and you know, when you buy the house, I mean, that kind of is all consuming for, you know, the longest time until all the boxes are unpacked, etc. So, you know, again, life comes at you pretty fast, so you kind of just put certain things on hold. And but then once we got kind of settled, you know, a year in, you know, that puts us at let's see, we bought the house in January of 2021. So I guess it's about 6 months later when I started thinking about it right away, and I was like, I really got to get going with this. So I bought the equipment. I bought a basic camera, basic microphone, $50 each. I didn't even spend any real money. I think I got like gift cards from my birthday or something that I used on this. And then I said, okay, well, what am I going to stream? And I was like, I don't want to be just like the guys that I, you know, emulate. Let me pick my own game. I'll carve my own path, as it were, right? Which, again, 6 months in, there is, every game is being streamed, so you really just got to pick what makes you happy, and we'll get to that. But in my initial research, I did find that most streamers do recommend that you find a game that you're familiar with and kind of stick with it for a while, so you build a basic fan base. I thought about games I'd enjoyed over the years, and I landed on Star Wars: The Old Republic. It's probably the most logged hours for me for any game in the history of my life. For those not familiar, it's an MMO that takes place in a galaxy far, far away, about 3,600 years before the movies. There are different classes, stories to play, and I thought it would be cool, you know, just do different playthroughs and light side, dark side, and it's very story driven. So I thought, hey, what the heck, why not? Let's give it a roll, right? But here's the thing. I started streaming it, and it wasn't very exciting. I told my friends and family about it. They would pop in here and there. You know, you would invariably get questions. Where's Baby Yoda? Where's Mandalorian? What's Luke doing during all this? And then you have to explain over and over. No, this isn't during this time. This is during a different time. And, you know, and occasionally you get somebody who's more familiar with the game. And they would come in and ask questions. Oh, what did you do with this class, that class? And, you know, this and that. And have you played this class? And it's like, oh, yeah, I played that already, you know. But invariably, it wasn't very exciting. There was a lot of nights where I was playing to one viewer and they weren't even saying anything. And I made the cardinal sin that every streamer shouldn't make. And anytime I saw somebody in the viewer list that wasn't saying anything, I would call them out. Oh, hey, how you doing? Welcome in. Da, 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 da. You know, and the way you kind of have to think of that, you know, imagine you're going into a showroom for furniture, let's say, for example, and the salesperson, you know, you just want to look around. You just want to see what the store is all about. And the salesperson runs up on you. Hey, how you doing? What are you doing? What do you want to buy? What do you want to do? And now you're going to get very scared by that person very quickly, and you're going to want to leave. So naturally, right after that, you know, I would do my spiel. They would, you know, and they would leave, and that would be it. Goodbye. Bottom line is, the first 3 weeks I played, I was basically miserable. I had 13 total followers, and that included all my family, all my friends, and you know, I had watched all the videos and all the tips and tricks, and you know, people said, oh, it's really slow when you first start. And I was like, okay, well, let me get one new follower every stream. And I wasn't even doing that. I mean, I was doing 4 days a week, and, you know, 3 weeks. I mean, that's, you know, let's see, what was that? What would that be? That'd be 12 streams. I was doing just about that, but, you know, I kind of wasn't counting the family and friends, because, you know, they were going to support me regardless of what game I was playing. And I felt like it was less indicative of my success, because no matter how bad I was, they would be supportive, which I was. We'll get to that. I was surprised later on how much my family does come by. I got 3 brothers. They're all married, and they basically show up every stream now, which they got to give them a quick shout out. It's really overwhelming that, you know, I log in and you do your starting screen for 5 or 10 minutes, and before I even get back, they're in there ready. They're already saying hi to each other. How you doing? What's going on? How was Sunday dinner? You know, that kind of thing. So, but, so it is nice that, you know, that would be my first thing, you know, you mention it to your family and friends. You know, some people might even, you know, even if they're not into video games too much, they'll come by. They'll come by and support you if it's something that's important to you. But yeah, but for the bottom line, even the family that was coming in and hanging out, they were still like, they'd pop in and out and they'd be like, okay, well, we have you on in the background. We're going to go watch our show now, you know? And then it was like, all right, well, that, you know, once you stop interacting with the stream, that kind of, you know, that viewership kind of goes away, you know, it doesn't really count towards the numbers. So, the first 3 weeks I averaged like 1.8 viewers for the entire 3 weeks, and it was, like I said, it was fairly pitiful. And I knew it had to change. You know, I remember sitting here one night in my chair, and I was on stream when it happened too, and I just sat back in my chair and I'm like, I don't get it. I did all the research, I got all the little tools, I got the microphone, I got the webcam, I think I'm funny and interesting, you know, and I kept trying to talk into the vacuum, like how people said you should do. You should always have a conversation going when somebody walks in, so they could just hop in. So you should always be talking about stuff. But I mean, you know, even with something like Star Wars, you know, it's like there's only so much you can cover when you're streaming, you know, 2 hours a night, 4 days a week. Like, it's like, how much of the movies can you discuss? How much of the show from the week before can you discuss while playing the game? It just, you know, and ultimately, you know, I didn't think of it so much at the time. I probably should have talked more about my life, you know, made it more personable, but I didn't do that. So I knew I had to retool. So one day I said, okay, I got to play something different. I knew Star Wars: The Old Republic wasn't going to work out for me, and ultimately what I was starting to do is I was starting to look at total viewership for the entire game at various times, and it didn't really, like the overall viewership wasn't that high. So it was like, okay, well, even the people that are playing the game, like the total amount of people, just even if I got 100% of the people, it still wasn't going to meet what my goals were for streaming. Like, I wanted to stream to 4,000 people like Barb does, or 1,000, even 1,000 people like DGR does every stream. You know, you log in, there's always like 900 to 1,000 people hanging out. And I just knew the Star Wars: The Old Republic wasn't going to do that, because the entire game was only at any given time has like 200 or 300 people. And again, I'm not trying to trash the game. Again, it is a game that I logged more hours than any other game. So obviously I enjoyed it, just not enough other people enjoyed it. So I had to make a change. How was I going to do that? I did a lot of Googling. How do I pick a game? And again, you find people telling you, look, you just got to go and stream what you like. So, but I said at the same time, you also got to get viewers. Otherwise, what are you doing? Otherwise, you know, I knew I was going to be bored with it. I didn't want to just stream out into the void, as it were. But, you know, again, I'm kind of repeating myself. So, but anyway, the biggest evidence that I actually hated the game, or I grew to hate the game, was I haven't touched it since my last stream on August 2nd, like even in my personal time. So anyway, all right, so I knew I had to change. So what I did was I walked over to my PS5, walked over to my Nintendo Switch, and I wrote down every game that I owned. Because I said, okay, I don't want to start going out and buying new games, and I don't even know if I'm going to like them. I took the list, came over to the computer. Oh, and I kind of took the ones out that I didn't think would be something I would have fun with. You know, I wanted a game that I could interact with chat and then kind of go back and forth. And, you know, that kind of thing. And I found this website called Twitch Tracker, twitchtracker.com. Very useful website. You're going to want to write that one down and pause the website and go check that, pause the podcast rather, and then come back to us. It's a site that gives you an idea what games are being watched and also what games are being streamed the most. There's even a category called games to stream that focuses on this ratio. Twitch is starting to catch on to this now, and they're starting to give you ideas after you finish a stream. They're starting to suggest other games that you might want to play, but there's no like database where you can go and just kind of look for yourself. It's always like information they're giving you as opposed to what you want to look like if you wanted to look at everything. So what I did was I ordered everything up with the category viewers per channel stat. And then I also made sure to pick something that was already on my list. Because again, you got to have fun with it. Otherwise, people are going to know you're miserable. You know, and I think that's what it was with Star Wars: The Old Republic. People knew that I was miserable. They knew that I wasn't having fun because, again, it was always one person. So, but all right, I don't want to keep rehashing that. What I ended up landing on was Mario Maker 2, believe it or not. Right back to where the journey started. It had a good viewers per channel ratio. It was a game I was highly interested in. It was a game that I'd actually bought because I had watched people stream it, and I was, you know, I'd play different levels, you know, as people do. And I was like, well, what the heck? Why not? Let's go. And then I looked at the game mode. I went on Reddit and said, okay, you know, Mario Maker 2, I'm a new streamer. What do you guys think I should do? And people were like, well, do viewer levels. I'm like, all right, that makes sense. You know, people want to come in, see their level played. They'll stick around for at least 20 minutes. And then if there's 2 or 3 people in queue, the 2 people behind them will stick around and it'll be great. Right? Right? It was an instant hint from day one. I remember I did my starting screen and I went upstairs because we were still putting our daughter to bed, and I kind of had it open on my phone. I kept looking. I was like, oh my God, there's 5 people in my queue already. I got to get down there. I had 10 followers the first night. So I went from 13 to 23 in my first night, which I thought was like, you know, to me was like, oh, you know, it is almost doubling your growth. And I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. I had affiliate 2 weeks after switching games, and I had 100 followers in another 30 days after that. So, I mean, it really started to take off. Right now I'm averaging about 8 viewers per stream. I'm still a small streamer. Again, only 6 months in. You don't grow that quickly, you know, like even with what I'm talking about. But it is a lot of fun. I got a lot of different people that pop in. Obviously they're not there the whole time, but you know, people would still come in and hang out, and you interact. And you know, it got me to relax and have a bit more fun with it. As opposed to, you know, pressing so much with, you know, the other game. Again, it really surprised me to learn that I didn't have fun with Star Wars: The Old Republic. It really did. I thought, oh, I'm so experienced with this game. It's great. You know, it's awesome. So, but that's what I picked. I introduced the Breath of the Wild night. So I have a Zelda night that I do, and different people show up for the Breath of the Wild night versus Mario Maker. And recently we started doing Mario Kart. That one made sense to me because, believe it or not, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still coming out with tracks. Even though it's a game that came out, was it 4 or 5 years ago at this point? So, but that was a fun night. We started doing that only last week, and that was a lot of fun to race with different people and, you know, see their names up and, okay, I gotta get them, you know? So yeah, again, bottom line is it's got to be fun, but also if you're trying to grow as a streamer, it's also got to be something that you're gonna, you know, you can grow with. So that's you kind of have to find that happy medium there, that fits both of those criteria when you're picking a game. But and again, if it doesn't matter growth, if you don't mind streaming to 1 or 2 people, and you know, even if you don't stream to anybody, you're like, who cares? You know, I'm just doing this just to hang out. Then fine, that you do that, and just don't even worry about average viewers. You just kind of have to. You got to ask yourself the question: what do I want out of this? Do I want to just have a little bit of fun, or do I want to grow the channel, and do I want to really get a good following? So next thing, the tech. Oh my goodness, the technology. Again, you watch all the videos, you watch all the different the different help, and it still just doesn't prepare you for the amount of shenanigans that go on between OBS and Streamlabs, Stream Elements. You know, you got to learn all those, and then there's extensions on the twitch.tv page itself. All those things play in, and then there are things that you won't even be prepared for. Bot issues. You know, I had I don't want to mention, I don't want to trash, but I had a chat bot to help me out with the queue for the viewer levels, and it took me like 2 or 3 weeks to figure it out and get it to work. It just, every time I thought it was good, it just errored out and it wouldn't let people add levels. And I was like, there was a joke going around that I was like a caveman. I was writing down all the level codes or typing them in. I wasn't actually writing them. And you know, people were making a joke like, "Oh, do you got your chisel and stone tablet there?" You know, like I was a Neanderthal or something. And you know, and again, it was a fun joke. You kind of have to laugh at that. Oh, ha ha ha, yeah. But yeah, it took me 2 or 3 weeks to get it to work. But you do need one. You want it to do certain things. It helps with your viewer interaction, even if you're not doing a game that has like viewer levels or whatnot. What else? Another issue that cropped up was bot followers. Not different from chatbot. Bot followers. There was one night, again, it was very early in my Mario Maker 2 streaming career, I guess you want to call it. And I had like 35 followers. I did my starting screen. I went upstairs to grab a drink. I came back down, and all of a sudden I had 175. And I went, what the heck? What is that about? And I thought I got raided. I thought maybe one of the big streamers had gotten me, you know, which that wasn't going to happen that quickly. But that was my first thought. I was thinking positively, right, guys? Think positive. And then I started looking at the names, and they were just very generic, and they were very, you know, it was, you could just tell, like, it was like Wendy's PR team and, you know, Wendy's spicy chicken nuggets. There was a lot of that for some reason, a lot of Wendy's for some strange reason. I don't know why. But you can kind of tell, like, and then I quickly figured out, like, oh, they're not real. So my wife, you know, my wife always watches my stream, God bless her. And she comes down quickly and she goes, you got bot followed. You got to go to this site and get them taken out. And you got to turn off your notifications. They're going to go for like 20 minutes. And I'm like, oh, you're right. You know, because everyone's going to hear I got the Obi-Wan hello there every time somebody follows. So you just kept hearing hello there, hello there, hello there over and over again, which was funny at first. But once it got to like the 20th one, that kind of got annoying. So I had to, you know, click that off and, you know, go to the one website and clean house and get them all off of there. And but it screws up your statistics, because even though you get rid of them, like, you still go to like your chat analytics after the fact, or your channel analytics rather, I should say, after the fact. And it just, you just see the spike, and everything else just looks minuscule as a result of it. And I always go back with the channel analytics. I'm an analytics by heart, so I don't know if you could tell by this point. I'm all about numbers, so I still go back to the beginning sometimes and see where I came from and compare it to where I am, and I compare it month to month to month, and then at 6 months at a time. And, you know, I'm probably going to do this at a year from now and say, oh, wow, I was at 1.8. Now I'm hopefully by July, I'm averaging 18 or 20, you know, who knows? If the podcast takes off, maybe you guys come find me there, right? Haha. Anyway, but yeah, chat analytics, I kind of touched on that. That makes, you got to look at that. You got to kind of see what games work. Like, for example, I know Mario Maker 2 is far more popular than Breath of the Wild. I do far better with Mario Maker 2 than I do with Breath of the Wild. I enjoy both games equally for different reasons. Breath of the Wild is more of a relaxing experience, although right now I'm trying to finish up Trial of the Sword, so that is not so relaxing right now. Quick aside, I got to the final set of trials. It's 23 rooms. And if you're familiar with Trial of the Sword, they take all your weapons away, and then you got to, you know, start from scratch, and you just got to, you know, use your bombs, use your, you know, know-how, and you got to take the weapons off the enemies, and it's always like a stick. And then you got to whack the next guy and get like a cheap sword, and then whack the next guy and get a better sword. So 23 rooms is the last section, and I got to room 20 of 23, and God help me, I died. I got a case of the dumbs, rushed at the Guardian in room 23, even though I knew I shouldn't have done it, and he just demolished me, and that was the end of that. And I just collapsed on the keyboard, you know, live on Twitch, and it was awful. But again, you know, I kind of keep Breath of the Wild as kind of like a palate cleanser. This way, it's not constantly Mario Maker, Mario Maker, Mario Maker. You should always do something different, I feel. That's kind of what I feel at this point. And Mario Kart 8, it's a game you just kind of have fun. It doesn't even matter if I win the race. You know, I just kind of, like, I am racing, and obviously a lot of people are like, beat the streamer, let's go beat the streamer, you know, and people log in just to do that. And it's like, okay, that's fun. Come on in. It's all good. You know, I'm still trying. I'm not saying I'm throwing races or anything, but I don't go like, oh God, I finished second. So, you know, you gotta have a little fun with it. Oh, but one other thing with channel analytics, every streamer will tell you this. You got to turn the viewer counter off while you're streaming. It is an absolute distraction. I wish it wouldn't even be there as an option to turn it on, frankly. When it was on, I just focused on it. I'm like, oh my God, did I say something stupid? It went from 8 down to 6. Like, was I not funny during that last level? Did I not try hard enough? And then when it goes from like 6 to 9, you go, oh my God, what did I do that worked? I got to write that down. And it's like, there's time for that. Do it later. Be in the moment. Stream, have some fun, interact with your chat, say their names. You know, it's sales 101. You know, you just gotta, you are selling to them a little bit, but at the same time, you know, I've gotten to know a lot of people, and a lot of them aren't even in my chat. They don't even come to my chat. I go to other people's chats sometimes and hang out there. Networking, that's a big one. While we're talking about it, networking is, you know, getting to know other streamers, rating out, always rate out. I don't care if you have 1 or 2 viewers, always rate out at the end of your stream. Go rate out somebody else who has 1 to 2 streamers, because then their stream just went from 2 to 4 and they're really excited, and they see your name as being the cause of it, and they go, oh my God. And then maybe you get to know them, and then you guys become friends, and then he raids you, or she raids you, whoever, or they raid you later on, and it goes back and forth, and you get and you're basically taking the people that are watching you and you're exposing them to somebody else, and they go, oh wow, this person's cool too, I'll follow them too. And then vice versa. You can't think of it like in normal terms where it's like a competition, like you're not competing for viewers. You can't look at it like that. And again, you get to know a lot of different people, you know, like the first person I ever rated was I remember, I'm going to name drop him, Morbo, and he was just, he kind of checked me out. I'll give him a shout out, and I got a couple of followers right away from it, and every time I go in there, oh, I'll go follow Jim, he's trying to reach affiliate, and he was like so supportive of me trying to get to affiliate, and I was like, oh, that's great, thank you so much, you know. And you know, there were times I was just going in his chat to hang out. He goes, let's give him a shout out, and I kept saying like, no, you don't have to shout me out every time, but he wanted to, you know, and he was appreciative of the fact that I came and hung out, and he remembered what it was like to be a small streamer like myself. I mean, I think I first rated him when I had like 25 followers. So that's like, you know, real baby streamer territory. You know, I still consider myself a baby streamer, but you know, that's like infant, like newborn, 25, which is okay. Everyone's going to start somewhere. You know, nobody starts out with 10,000 followers. Unless, you know, you're somebody who is like that Star Wars girl, you know, if you know her from YouTube, you know, she had a lot of Star Wars related videos. She had thousands upon thousands of followers. And then one day she said, yeah, I want to go be on Twitch. And she made like partner and like almost instantly, because what do you think people did? People, they just, oh, excuse me. They just came on over and followed her there, you know? But let's be honest, if you're listening to this, that's probably not the case. You probably have don't have a pre-established following. So but yeah, definitely Networking is important. Go sit in other people's streams when you're not streaming, even if you're, video editing, working on your sound alerts, whatever. Just go sit in somebody else's stream who is playing a game similar to yours or a game you're interested in. And again, they'll raid you or you'll raid them. I mean, it happens. Traps to avoid. Now, this is something I entered into early on when I was struggling with the with Star Wars: The Old Republic. I tried to join a new, a new streamer Discord, and tried to get together with a group that way. They were all nice people. I have nothing bad to say about the individuals, but it was more of like you come in and, oh, hey, how you doing? I'm Jim Pie, I play this. And everyone's like, oh, give him a follow. And everyone follows you and you think, oh, wow, this is really great. And you got like 5 to 10 follows off of it. And hardly any of them ever showed up. Like they would follow you and it would pump your numbers up. And if you were going for affiliate, certainly that helps. If you're just trying to reach the 50 follower minimum, that certainly helped. But I got to tell you, it's again, it's not real engagement, and it's just pumping up the numbers, making the numbers look nice. But again, a lot of times they don't show up, and it's really tough. You focus on viewers, not followers. If you get a solid 10 people that will show up every time, but you only have 12 followers, I mean, that ratio probably wouldn't happen. But if you had that, I would prefer that as opposed to 200 followers, but only 5 of them show up every time. Let's see, another trap to avoid. Silence is deadly. You got to constantly be talking. Sometimes I'm just narrating what I'm doing. Like, okay, I'm jumping up here. I'm trying to shell jump this. Oh, wow, that stunk. That was a really poor attempt at a shell jump. Oh, I died. That stinks, I don't have to do that so much anymore. When you have 8 to 10 people and people are always like in there talking, you'll bring up topics like for instance, this past Sunday, I came down and, we had family over and we had pot roast and everything. And I was just, oh guys, we had this great pot roast. My sister-in-law came over, she cooked it and it was awesome with mashed potatoes and and I just went on and on and on. And everyone's like, and I was like, what's everyone's favorite Sunday, if you do that kind of thing, I was like, what's everyone's favorite Sunday night meal? If like you get together with the family and everyone's like, oh, I like this. And one guy was like, I like chicken nuggets. Everyone's like, what are you, crazy? That's great. But Sunday dinner, you're nuts. So, but yeah, and it doesn't even have to be related to the game, just talk about what's happening in your life. What was something that funny that happened to you that day? Ask everyone else, hey, how was your Friday? How was your Sunday? How was your, whatever. So, those would be the tips. And again, I know I'm not an expert. Again, 6 months in, I'm sure I'm going to feel differently about this podcast a year, and another 6 months. I'll probably do another one of these for my July episode. And I'm sure I'll have different things to say than I did today. You do learn as you go along, and it is a learning curve. Again, the technology, it really gets to you. Oh, another thing with the technology, obviously you see I'm using a green screen. If you're watching me on YouTube, that was probably one of the more difficult things I had to try and figure out. Because I just said, oh, I'll buy a green screen. I got a light coming from the camera, so it'll be fine. It was awful. It looked, you could see the green screen, even though it was like taken out, like you could still see the texture of it on the feed, on OBS when I was looking at it. Lighting is key. You definitely need lighting. You need the 2 lights on either side, and you need the that are not directly on you, and then you need the second light in the middle that's just focused on you to light you up. And it really, obviously it's more complicated than that. I'm sure even lighting experts are saying, no, there's more to it than that. And yes, there is absolutely more to it than that. And I'm still kind of a novice, and I still have to play with the lighting every now and again to try and get it. Like even now, if you're watching on YouTube, I still got these black spots on my left. You're right. Can't quite figure out how to get rid of them, but I did the best I could, and it is what it is. So, it's an evolving process, and that's what you got to remember. Final tips. If you're nervous about starting, just start. It doesn't get any easier the longer you wait, the longer you procrastinate. I was very nervous leading up to it. I kept saying to my wife, I'm going to start this day. And then I wouldn't do it. I'm like, no, not tonight. I don't feel like it tonight. Like, I'm not in a good mood for it tonight, And then it was like, but if you start, you can't not be in a good mood. Like, consistency is key. You got to hit your schedule. You can't just wake up that day and go, yeah, I don't feel like it today. No, you have to get on. You have to get on. You have to, you have to stream. Otherwise, people are going to be, whoa, I thought Jim was on today. Why didn't he show up? And when you're not going to be there, you got to tell them. And you got to go cross-platform too. Right now I'm on Twitch, TikTok. I have a Discord server. I'm on YouTube. And yeah, this podcast is obviously going to hit multiple platforms. Right now it's on Spotify. It's on Apple, iTunes podcasts. Google Podcasts is kind of dragging their feet for some reason. They say it could take 2 weeks for me to be listed there. I don't know why, but they seem to be the only one that's dragging their feet. iHeartRadio, a bunch of other small ones. You just got to get your tentacles out everywhere, and I know I said a lot about the tech stuff. Try not to worry about it as first. If people log in and they see you got 25 followers, they know you're a small streamer. They know you're still figuring it out. Just make sure that they can hear you clearly. Make a recording of yourself. I did that even before doing this podcast, even though I've been doing this 6 months, to kind of listen and see like what kind of, what does it sound like? And the sound is the most important. The visual you could always play with. You could always crop yourself all the way down. There's one streamer I know, Trip Draws. She just has an oval focused on her face, Everyone does something different. So really just make sure they can hear you well and the image is somewhat decent. And then focus one chatter at a time. Only one person there, great. Get to know them. Hey, what do you do for a living? If they want to tell you, don't get too specific, maybe they work for the FBI and they just don't want to tell you. You never know. But yeah, get to know them. What do you do for fun? What games do you like? What version of this game do you like? Have you played Zelda before? You just get in on it. And don't compare yourself to anyone. Everyone grows at a different rate, and it's tough to do, especially when you know somebody who's got a similar follower account to you, and you see them growing maybe just a little bit quicker than you, and they're pulling away from you, and you go, what am I doing different? And you just go, just relax. Try not to compare yourself. Everyone's going to grow at their own rate. Everyone's going to respond to you at a different rate. What else do I got here? I do have notes here, so I don't know if you see me checking it out. Okay, another thing. People who do this regularly, all tell them that it took them 2+ years to build their community before they were able to quit their day job. If you're trying to do this full time, it's not going to happen instantly. I wouldn't quit my job and just start streaming like immediately. You're going to be miserable. You're going to be thinking about that paycheck. Like, you have to think of this as anything you get out of this money-wise, once you reach affiliate, of course, anything you get out of this money-wise is bonus at first. And don't start sinking. There's a lot of stuff out there. Something I noticed when I started Twitter, a lot of graphics artists follow you instantly. You put Twitch affiliate in your profile, they're like locusts, man. They come and get you. I would never go be a graphics artist. That market is saturated with people who can do your thing. So, but they're all looking to do emojis for you. They're all looking to do banners for you. They're looking to do icons. So far I've done everything myself. I've played around with MS Paint and paint.net and a couple of others, and I kind of figured it out a little bit. The logo here, I designed it from a stock image on Streamlabs, and just kind of played around with it, checked the coloring, did different this, that, and it's fine. It'll work for now until I make a bit more on it. Maybe I'll update the logo someday, but I don't see a reason to change it at the moment and go crazy. I just don't see people sinking $100 a month into different things. And there are different services. that Streamlabs will offer, Stream Elements will offer, all these different places will offer. Just be careful with that. Don't jump in with both feet and think like, oh, if I just go in really hard right off the bat, just take your time. You know, you don't want 1,000 people in your chat to start, because you're going to be overwhelmed. You're not going to know, you know, everyone's going to be chatting, going crazy, and you're just going to be like, I don't know where to start. So you want to build up slow. You do want to build yourself up slow. And, you know, don't take yourself too seriously. As far as my skill of playing Mario Maker, I'm not that good, frankly, if you're just going to rate me as a skill player at Mario Maker. I had one of my viewers record themselves saying, stop dying, because I died too many times, and we play it every time I die. It's my sister-in-law. Anyway, and now it's a sound alert on my channel, and that, you know, it's funny. Everyone laughs at it. You know, you are there to entertain. That's what you got to look at it. You're there to entertain. You're there to be a community leader, and you have to go with it. And, you know, feel free to ask for help. I mean, I wouldn't, you know, just pop into anybody's stream and be like, hey, I'm having trouble doing this. They're going to be like, who are you and why would I help you out with your stream when I'm trying to do my stream? You know, maybe message somebody privately, somebody you're more friendly with, that kind of thing, because no one's going to hold your hand. But, you know, everyone's experienced enough. And sometimes streamers will even start talking about it. Like if they're having an issue, all of a sudden you can't help but talk about it. And, you know, just... hey, what do you do with this? What do you do with that? Reddit's an excellent place for advice. You know, I think that what's the Reddit called? I think it's like small streamers or new streamers, something like that. You know, search on there, and I'm sure you can, you know, ask a question there and people will just hop in and help you. Even Twitter can be useful when people aren't cursing each other out. Although it's not as good as, you know, the one-on-one or going to Reddit. And then lastly, don't feed the trolls. I know you're trying to get viewers right now, but if you got somebody in there who's just causing trouble, get rid of them, ban them. Don't worry about the viewership. They're just going to drag you down. I've had 2 or 3 recently, which tells me that the stream is starting to take off if I'm having to start banning people on the regular. You know, they came in, one guy wasn't interested. He just wanted to tell me, he was actively rooting. He submitted a viewer level on Mario Maker 2, and he was, every time I died, he would go, yay, yay, yay. And I'm like, okay, fine, whatever, you know, haha. And then I beat the level, and he acted genuinely just like dejected in the chat. Oh man, I can't believe you beat my level. That stinks. And I was like, all right, I'll just submit a harder level next time. I don't have to tell you. So he submitted a harder level. And I was like, okay. And it was a harder level. I almost got to beating it. And, I fell at the end or something, and it was a stupid fall, and I knew I could go back in and beat the level. And then he was like, oh, look at this stupid streamer. He can't even beat a baby easy level. And I was like, okay, goodbye. You're actively just trying to troll at this point. And you boot him. There was somebody else who was part of my stream for probably a good 2 or 3 months. I'm trying to think exactly when. It's not like you track these kinds of things, but, you know, it was at least 2 months that they were part of my stream. And recently they just, you know, following me on Twitter, coming in the Discord, posting a lot of things that went against my rules of Discord, my rules of my chat, and then would do something strange and make dummy accounts that were very clearly his and have them follow me. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, that's not cool. Like, you know, and it would be like their name with like another underscore underneath. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, oh, that's not me, I swear. You know, I don't know why somebody's trying to get me banned. And I'm like, why would somebody try to get you banned? And, you know, he would complain about other streamers, and okay, don't complain about other streamers. I mean, I feel like that one's kind of obvious, but, you know, and don't, you know, if your chat's doing it, you kind of have to put an end to it. Cause again, word gets out, oh, hey, this guy complains about other streamers, you know, kind of keep that stuff to yourself. If there is somebody who, you know, who you don't like as a streamer. I mean, really, there's very few streamers I've met that I genuinely disliked. There was one person I rated actually, and I forget what they were playing. They were playing like a group game. I forget exactly which one. And when I rated, I was like, oh, hey, how you doing? You know, Jim Pal Podcast, how you doing? Nice to see you. How's it going tonight? And the guy was like, And as soon as you saw the raid message, go, great, a raid. This is the worst time to get a raid. And I was like, excuse me? Like, and then the whole time I was there for like 10 minutes. Oh, what are you guys playing? How's your night going? And he just sat there, you know, he had his camera like up there, but he was just sat there the whole time, like just staring at me in the, for those of you just listening to this, I made a pouty face. You know, he just stared at me in the camera, and I was like, okay, guy. And I put that on. He's the one guy on my list to do not raid ever, you know, and, you know, I just don't raid him anymore, you know, because he just kind of gave me an attitude. And I was just like, I thought I was trying to, you know, build up a community, and he had like 2 followers. I think I had like 5. And I was like, oh, okay, that'd be nice. You come on in, say hi, nice to meet you, you know, whatever, you know, build up that way. And he just, so, but again, I will never mention him by name. I've never mentioned him on Twitch ever. I kind of just bowed out. I said, okay, have a good night, goodbye. And that's probably the last time I took my follow back, because I was like, okay, this clearly isn't going to work out. Again, you can't chase it around. You know, if you meet somebody who's not good for your community, there's no reason to keep pursuing it. So, but that about wraps it up. That's about all I got for the first episode of the Jim Powell podcast. You can come find us everywhere podcasts are available: Spotify, Apple, Amazon Podcasts, iHeartRadio. And again, like I said, eventually Google Podcasts. For some reason, they say that it's going to be a couple of weeks, and that's every new podcast. So I don't know what to tell you with that. But if you want the video version of this, you can go to YouTube. I will upload it there. Find me on Twitter at JimPowell_podcast. TikTok, I'm on there as well. And of course, Twitch at Jim Powell Podcast. I stream Sundays, Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name is Jim. I've been your pal for today, and this is the Jim Powell Podcast. Thank you so much for checking me out. Hope to see you guys in stream. I plan to put these out. I'm going to try and put these out once a month and see how it goes. And if I can keep up with the pace, maybe I'll up it and do one every 2 weeks. We'll see how it goes. But for right now, look for it every 15th of the month. This is scheduled, if I can get this edited, to go out on the 15th. So if I do that, then yeah, every 15th of the month. All right. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.